All right, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. What is going on? Fit like your day, fit a bunny quine. Hallelujah and praise the Lord. Cheerio to Shabbat. Well, what's new with today? Well, I have to make an announcement, and some of you guys might already know this if you've watched my YouTube channel before, or you've maybe seen me on Facebook or Instagram. There is a certain Hebrew interference going on. And sometimes this makes me think like maybe I should actually, get a more professional video out there. But for now, just, with my small YouTube channel of 600,000 views, I'm going to keep this unprofessional, get on with my point. So, those of you who are familiar with the Hebrew Roots movement probably know about a guy who goes by the name Dr. Stephan Pidgeon. Well, this video is going to be my version of why I believe Dr. Stephan Pidgeon is a fake linguist who actually has an imaginary version of the Hebrew language. And I'm going to go into details as to why. I have my clipboard here, and I'm going to write out some of these things, because I believe it's pretty important to get out there. Let's see, for one, I have the name Yehovah, and again, this Dr. Pidgeon guy, he calls him some kind of name like Mr. Yahuwah, and I want to just say that Mr. Yahuwah, let's see, it says, Shabbat Shalom, very interested in this lecture. Oh, thank you, yeah. He calls him Mr. Yahuwah. Again, I'm sorry if this sounds disrespectful, but the reason why I put Mr. in front of Yahuwah is I believe there's probably somebody out there, and I believe on Facebook there's somebody out there that's named Yahuwah, and so far I haven't found him, okay? I do know that there's a guy that had this name, Yod Hey Vav Hey, and Yod Hey Vav Hey, let's see if I have this pen. Where is my pen? Okay, get my Sharpie. Okay, Yod Hey Vav Hey was what it was in the 1st century, but let's get rid of that, and let's actually go to Paleo, Proto, Hebrew, because this is what the Hebrew Roots movement's all about. You got Yod, looks kind of like this, Hey, kind of like this, and then Vav, like this, and then Hey. That is Yod Hey Vav Hey, and I believe that this should be pronounced properly as Yehovah. Is it a conjecture? Is this an assumption? Well, let me explain, okay? Yes, it's an assumption, and also no, it's not an assumption. What we know is that we are talking about a text where we have no audio version. We have no video version of 2,000, 3,000 years ago. All that we have is these ancient letters. It's a font. It's Yod Hey Vav Hey. The exact same letters as this. Yod Hey Vav Hey. And why I'm saying this is so you don't think that this is two different languages. This is just a different font. Let me explain. This would be like if I wrote this out, YHWH, and then down here I write it in cursive and say YH like this. And you can see on the screen there, that's two different YHWHs, and I just have it a different font. But it's the exact same word, it's just a different font. And so, over the years, font has changes. But what I'm showing you is with the name Yod Hey Vav Hey here, that we have, and again, I don't have this all in the PowerPoint or anything, I'm just doing this, writing it on paper. I have here, though, the vowels underneath. This would be the Masoretic vowels, saying to pronounce this as a schwa. This would be a holem, and then a kametz, so it'd be Yehovah. Now, again, there are Babylonian manuscripts, and they have a different set of vowels. They don't have Masoretic vowels. They have Babylonian kind of vowels. So forget about the ones down here. There's vowels above the letters, and the Babylonian text also spell it out Yehovah. And this is something that Nehemiah Gordon has done a very good job of coming out with many different manuscripts, over 1,000 manuscripts, and showing detailed manuscripts that spell the name out, Yod He Vav He, with the vowels. So we got the vowels in Hebrew are Yod He, where am I at? The vowels in Hebrew are Yod, Shwa, He, Holam, and then Vav with the He. And okay, hopefully I'm not just getting way too complicated. I want to slow down and explain. So, now, let's go back to the Paleo version. All we got is Yod, He, Vav, He. How do we know how to pronounce this if there's no vowels written in? If we don't have a Hirek, we don't have a Seirei, we don't have the little dots or dashes, how do we know how to pronounce this? Because technically this Yod in Hebrew has multiple pronunciations. Just like in enough, apparently GH makes the F sound in enough. Apparently PH makes the F sound in physics. And then apparently F makes the F sound in factory. But then another word, F, could be totally silent. Like it say, going on another consonant, T, buffet, you have, buffet is silent T, but then buffet, you have a hard T. And how do you know that? Well, it's, custom pronunciation. You got pronunciation textbooks. We have pronunciation over the ages, and some of it changes. But the changes are something that we're aware and we know about. I can't just go and start saying, you know what, English is all screwed up. You see this word right here? E-N-O-U-G-H. See this word? That's Anoog. All of America, they're all speaking fake English. Everybody, wake up, everybody, go wild, everybody. It's Anoog, okay? E-N is N, and this is oog. Anoog, okay? And I want to show you why this is so important. You say enough, E-N-O-U-G-H, and then I say of that stuff. I'm going to just say enough of that stuff. If I wanted to be like Dr. Pidgeon, what he does with Hebrew, you would say, this is all wrong. This is Anoog, Oaf, Thot, Anoog, Oaf, Thot, Stoof. You gotta pronounce it this way. You cannot say enough with that stuff. You gotta pronounce it like this. Anoog, Oaf, Thate, Stoof. A noof, og, thate, stoof, okay? And if you're good enough of a manipulator, you could actually make it so you get a following. And so, especially those that aren't that acquainted with the English language, you get a word like, for instance, I, and then another word like love, and then another word like God. And you'd say, this is not supposed to be I love God. This should be, the I is also a J, so you could say this is actually Jai, and this should be Lu, because the O should be an U, it should be Lu, and this should be Luvi, and this shouldn't be an O, this should be U, and this should be an E at the end. So that's Jailuvi Goody. Jailuvi Goody. Jailuvi Goody means I love you, God. Jailuvi Goody. And if I go into an American congregation, I should be able to say, Jailuvi Goody! Jailuvi Goody! And that means I love God, okay? And then somebody else is going to respond enough with that stuff, and they're going to say, Anoog, Oaf, Thate, Stoof. Anoof, Og, Thate, Stoof. No, sorry, not Anoog. Yeah, Anoog, Oaf, Thate, Stoof. Anoog, Oaf, Thate, Stoof. Anag, Oaf, Thate, Stoof. And this is how a bastardized language is formed. And I'm explaining this with English because I'm sure that most of my audience are not Hebrew speakers. I speak English, you probably speak English too, and if I explain too much about Patach, Hametz, Ketuf, Seirei, and Holam Vav, you're probably going to shut me off and think it's all Greek to you. Well, it's not, it's Hebrew. But that's why I'm doing this in a bit of a parable. I'm talking about sounds from islands. Yeah, it's interesting, interesting language. Anyways, that's what Stephen Pidgeon's doing, though. He's going around, taking the Hebrew language, and he's re-pronouncing everything differently. But this is the catch. In English, a word like journey hold on, journey. Apparently the J in the Old English used to be a y, so that would have originally been more like a yorny in, say, 1525. William Tyndale would have probably said to go on a yorny, and he had joined things, not adjoined, but adjoined. He would have used it like a ya. This was like a yod or a yay. He had joined, and if you want to talk about joy, J-O-Y, that would have been pronounced yoy. And there is a form of language that does in fact change. The exact same thing goes with Hebrew. I'm going to just reuse one of these pieces of paper. The word David, it has a little dot in the D, the dalet. And that little dot symbolizes that once upon a time, that might have been pronounced like David. Instead of David, it might have been David. Or David. David or David. The truth is we don't know, but there has been speculation over the ages that some of these pronunciations changed. And again, without a tape recorder, we can't be 100% sure, but there are things like my professor of Hebrew, Russell T. Fuller, doctor in the Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. He teaches in his class that David, in the Proto language, back in Abraham's time period, was most likely pronounced as David. Again, this is not something we can know for sure, but it is something that may have been the original pronunciation. And we can look back and say, okay, this is how it should have, or might have been pronounced. The difference between somebody like Russell T. Fuller, and now let's go back to talking about Dr. Pidgeon, is Dr. Pidgeon actually makes things up out of nowhere. He will say that the D and the V and the D should be pronounced like this. Dude. Instead of this Vav being or Dawad, he'd either call this dude, because he likes the Vav to be an oo sound. Apparently he, in his mind, he doesn't think the Vav can be anything else but oo. That's why he says it's Yahuwah. And he says it's got to be Yahuwah, and it's got to be, instead of Yehochanan, Yehonatan, it's got to be Yehunatan and Yehuchanan. And it's also, instead of Moshe, apparently it was like Mushe. Instead of Shalom, it's Shalom. I mean, I don't know if somebody's speaking Aramaic or what when they say Shalom. Somebody posted on my Facebook the other day, they said Shalom, and I told them Salam Alaikum, Allahu Akbar. Okay, you know, God's a mouse in Hebrew. For those of you that like the pun, you know, Allahu Akbar means in Arabic, our God's greater, or God is the greatest. Well, in Hebrew, Akbar means a mouse, and so I like to use that and say, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, and then people are like, don't say that, it's Muslim, it's Muslim. I said, I didn't say Achbao. I said Achbao. Achbao. Oh, sorry, I said it backwards. Achbao with a h sound is greatest in Arabic. Akbao as just a cuss sound. Akbao means a mouse. So I just go around and I say Allah Akbao. The God's a mouse. And anyways, that's what I told the guy or the lady that told me shalom, because I don't know what the heck shalom means. If you're talking about a saloon or shalom, I don't know. But I'm saying this that has to be originated by Stephen Pidgeon or somebody like that. And I'm just trying to put some information out there because I think it's ridiculous. And I think that some of these guys have a few fresh short of a Happy Meal. And they're out to lunch. And I don't know, okay? I heard so many variants of God's name. Yahuwah. Yeah, I know, okay? I think people are coming up with them out of the blue. I'm going to just show you for once for David, okay? This in Hebrew is the Dalet, Vav, and Dalet. So Dalet makes the D sound, Vav makes the V sound, Dalet makes the D sound. What people are doing is coming up with variant pronunciations and saying instead of David, we're going to call it Duvud or Davad. We're going to call this a Dawad or a Dawood or a Dawawahud. And then they start renaming their Facebook profiles after this. I'm serious, okay? If you do not know about this, I am hopefully going to give you something worth living for. You're going to have to go on Facebook, search up Flat Earthers, go on a Flat Earth group, find Flat Earthers. I'm telling you Flat Earthers because they're the ones in this psycho mentality. I'm no offense to Flat Earthers in general. I consider myself a Flat Earther, and so does Logan Paul currently, okay? It's our sexual orientation, that, you know, allows us to be free with, you know, identifying with whatever. Well, in today's society, I feel like I'm free to identify with any kind of cosmology. You know, the simulation cosmology, the pancake in the sky flying through the air cosmology, the globe cosmology, and I believe it's important to know that I can identify with a dome flat earth cosmology with Yggdrasil, the tree of life in the middle, with the Holy Grail symbolizing the axe and the Crusader's cross. I believe I have the freedom, and why I bring that up is because you want to find flat earth people. Why do you want to find them? Because they rename their Facebook posts, their Facebook name, and they call themselves Ben Yehuatan, Ben Yehochanan, and they even have one. I gotta show you this guy. He's the most retarded person probably on the face of the flat earth. He's named himself. I can't even pronounce it without looking at it. Let's find it. Okay, here we go. I gotta show this on camera. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. He's named himself Yeremiyahu Yiskashin Yahusan. Let me take the, get the brightness down a little bit. His name is Yeremiyahu Yiskashin Yahusan. I'm thinking he probably went to court and changed his name on his birth certificate. That's so clever. Let's see. Really get that so I can share it. Yeah, look at that. Yeremiyahu Yiskan Yahusan. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you'd probably think he's some African scammer. But I don't think that's African. I can at least tell Yeremiyahu is Jeremiah. What the Yiskanshin Yahusan is, I think he's saying like son of Yahoo. I don't get it. You know, mixing up English and Hebrew, that's almost as bad as a word like, you know, mixing up Latin and Greek, like transgender. You know, trans is the Latin word and gender is a Greek word. And, you know, and then if you say bisexual, then you got, you know, sexual is Latin and bi is Greek. Or so it's like you just can't figure out some of these words. You know, that's why English gets so mixed up and people don't even know if they're a boy or a girl anymore. You know, it's like you got to go back and actually speak one language at a time. So if you're going to rename your Facebook profile and say his name really was Jeremiyahu, you know, an Elijah Boo Boo, convoluted, whatever. Say his name is Jeremiah Miller. Okay, just pretend. I don't know what his name is. He's a friend of me. He's got like 38 mutual friends. I'll just calm down. Mr. Jeremiah Miller. That is a respectable name. I like the name Jeremiah Miller. That sounds like an American. And then what does he do? He screws up his name so bad, he makes it so his name is Yeremiyahu Gizkanshan, or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, or if there is a correct pronunciation. Yeremiyahu Gizkanshan Yaosan. Who the heck is gonna call him that? I'm not gonna call him that. I can't even say that. It's like I gotta have a lisp just thinking about it. And that's what I'm finding. Like I can go through friend after friend. There's like, okay, let me just look at this. The name is Eliana Yazanya. Lasagna? I don't know if it's lasagna or azan. Her name is Alahanya Azah, and then Yah, capital Y-A-H. Alazanya. Seriously, I'm not making this up, you know? Let me go to the next person. Yizka Bat Yerushalayim. Oh, I know Bat Yerushalayim means daughter of Jerusalem. So her name is Yizka. Her name is Yiska Bat Yerushalayim. How would you like to call her that? Okay, meet her on the streets and be like, hey, my name is George. What's your name? My name is... I can't even remember. Yizka? My name is Yizka Bat Yerushalayim. You gotta call me that every time. You know, it's like, can I just call you Izzy? No, that's not my name. You gotta say it right. It's Yizka Bat Yerushalayim. Can I call you Yerushalayim? No, Yerushalayim. Okay, let's go to another one of these friend guys. I'm just looking at these friend suggestions now. They're all messianic people, coming to think of it. Okay, that's a good name. Somebody named John, somebody named... Oh, here we go. Masha. Okay, this looks like a Black Jews guy. Nope, it says White Cloud. It said Black Jews? I'm just curious about this. I'm looking at this name. It says, I am an Irish karaoke Abre from the tribe of Yashakar, a watchman, and a bad of Yahuwah, my Ab Aluhuim. 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 He says his name is Masha Whitecloud, and it says, Abad of Yahuwah, my Ab Elohim. And I'm gonna just put this out here. I mean, hopefully it won't, like, you know, I'm gonna call it, you know, just flash that on the screen. If anybody can read that, I don't know. But I'm just telling you, this is absurd. I mean, I think this would just be the most ignominious disgrace that Jesus could come back to. You know, if he comes back to these iconoclastic individuals that have totally botched up the Hebrew language and have created this fantastic, imaginative language and are calling themselves Bat Yerushalayim, Yahuwah Hanatan, Yahukanabad Abad, Abad Yahuwah Habashia. You know, why don't we all just speak Pig Latin or something? I have a great idea. Let's speak Pig Latin. I have an idea. Back to Stephen Pidgeon. That's what this whole thing's about, because I think Stephen Pidgeon's to blame. He's got a book. And do you know what he named it? You'll never guess. Oh, you said it. It's book. Yeah, book called book. Book called book. I'm going to rap about that someday. It's a book called book called book called book. You know, you could sing to that. Get the beat going. And it's called Sefer. It's called Et Sefer. And that's because Et Sefer is a book in the accusative position. You never put a title in the accusative position, because the accusative position is going to be the subject of a sentence. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Not the subject. The subject is the nominative. The accusative, that is the direct object. That's like if I give the guy a book. The book is what I gave. The guy is to whom I gave it. The book would be the direct object. I'm sorry, indirect object. I'm not good with grammar. I'm used to calling it the... Hear me out. I'm used to calling it the dative or dative case. There's a dative case. The dative case is you give to the man the book. You give the book to the man. To the man is dative. And what do you give? That is the accusative. That would be in English the direct object of a sentence. So you never name a title the direct object of a sentence. You only name a title in the nominative. That is what the nominative position is for. In Hebrew, in Greek, in Latin, in German, in French, in Arabic, you name it, you always use the nominative to name a book a book. But what did Stephen Pidgeon do? Stephen Pidgeon named a book in the accusative position. That brings his IQ down a little bit in my standard. Okay? Do you know what else he did? He didn't just name it a book. He named it, okay, a book in the accusative position. So it's Et Sefer. Et is the accusative position. Sefer means book. So I've suggested coming out with a revision. And instead of naming this book in Hebrew, I was thinking of trying something else. In Latin, liber, like this, is book. In the accusative, the nominative position. We have libro is the dative. And we also got libri. Libri, yep. Libri, that's the genitive. And then we got librum. Librum. That bottom one on the screen, librum. Librum is a book in the accusative position. And do you know what Stephen Pidgeon should have named his book if it were Latin? It'd look like this, like Sefer. That is the accusative position. Down here, Et Sefer. That is the accusative position. And then this it would be, I think also, you know, Et Sefer could be considered a dative. And then genitive position would probably be like Shella Sefer, like of a book or something like that. So again, I'm just going to show this in Latin just in case your Latin is more adept than your Hebrew. Just to give some kind of a, you know, writing to this and why it's really not correct is because a book should be called Sefer. Kids go to school in Hebrew. That's called Beit HaSefer, or the house of the book. School is Bet HaSefer. And so with Stephen Pidgeon naming his book Book, then in school, and apparently in Hebrew, and all this has to do with Hebrew, in school, when they go to Bet HaSefer, they're probably going to the house of Stephen Pidgeon Sefer. That is my new surmisal. I should call it a surmisal. My new surmisal is that in Hebrew, they have this thing. And let me show you what else I can say about Et HaSefer. This Bible is Sefer. That is a book. This is Sefer. And I gotta do this as an illustration. So I got Sefer Echad, that's one book. This is Harry Potter. Now I got Sfarim. I got two books. So this is Sefer Echad, Sefer Shnei, the second book. So now I got Shnei Sfarim. I got two books. Shnei Sfarim is two books in Hebrew. And then I get another book. Let's just call it, just any old book. 88 Reasons Why Jesus is Coming in 88. So I got Harry Potter, 88 Reasons, and I got this other Bible. Now I got Shalosh Sfarim. I got three books. But you know what I don't have? I don't have Et HaSefer. Do you know why? If I say I have Et HaSefer, that would be I have a book in the accusative position. So I have a book. I don't have a book. I don't. I have three books. Okay, so let's get back down to two books. And now let's get back to one book. Now, Yeshli Et HaSefer, I have the book. Or I should say a book. Okay, you want to call it the book. I have the book. But I'm going to just use it as an indirect object, an indirect article, and just say a book. Yeshli Et HaSefer, I have a book. In the accusative position, that would be right for me to call this book my Bible, my King James Version of the Bible. I've just correctly said in Hebrew, I have a book. Yeshli is I have, Et HaSefer is the book. So I'm just giving you this illustration just so you know what Et Sefer means. Et Sefer means book. I'm going to give you another book. I'm going to give you The Giver. See, this is not a religious book unless you read too much into it. You might think it's religious, about the flat earth or whatever. But anyways, The Giver. This is a novel for 11-year-olds, a 5th grade novel. This, in my hand, is a book. And if I want to say I have a book, in Hebrew again, I can say Yeshli Et Sefer. Yeshli Et Sefer, I have a book. This is my Hebrew lesson today. I'm trying to teach you legitimately correct Hebrew, okay? Yeshli Et Sefer. I hope you understood. That means I have a book. Now, let me move on to something else. Now let me say, I love God with all my heart, okay? It'd be Ani Ohev Elohim Im Kol Libi. Ani Ohev means I love. Ani is I, Ohev is love, and then Elohim. A lot of Jews, they don't say Elohim with a hard H. They just say Elohim. Elohim, they kind of, slur the H. Ani Ohev Elohim Im Kol Libi. Kol Libi is my entire heart. Ani Ohev Elohim Im Kol Libi. I love the Lord with all my heart. And Stephen Pidgeon, on the other hand, would have to say that is false. Apparently, you're not supposed to say Ani Ohev Et Elohim Im Kol Libi. You have to say something like Ani Ahuv Et Elohim Im Kol Libi. Or Kol Libi. Something like that, okay? And I know this because I've had this personal little conversation with Stephen Pidgeon on Facebook. I was talking to him about the Book of Jasher, and I said, I don't believe the Book of Jasher is a legitimate book. This was somebody, he just made it up, got 1557 stamped on the back of it. Where's the original? Where's the Hebrew? Where's the Greek? Where'd it come from? Oh, well, this is what Stephen Pidgeon says to me. He says to me that he's going to take me to court, because he's a lawyer and he knows all about it. He's going to take me to court and he's going to sue me for bad-mouthing him. So I said, okay, that sounds like a plan, because it said my grandfather's a lawyer, a criminal lawyer. I said, hey, it sounds like a plan, you know. I'm sure my grandfather, he'll fight for me, and then you could fight for you, and we'll see who wins. You know, I'm being sarcastic, of course. I'm not really going to go to court. I think it's the whole thing stupid. Well, apparently Stephen Pidgeon, on the other hand, he thinks it's serious. Maybe. I don't know. But he says then, in English letters, and I'm going to spell this out so you know what it looked like. He says something to the extent of Lashon Hara. And I didn't know what he meant, okay? Because again, he didn't spell it out in Hebrew, he spelled it out in English. And he spelled it out L-A-S-H-O-N. I'm sorry, I just screwed that one up. He spelled it out L-I-S-H-O-N. And then he spells it out H-A-R-A. Like this. And I was like, Lishon Hara. I don't know what that means. You know, is this Hebrew? Is it Greek? Is it Latin, Aramaic? I don't know what it means. And Stephen Pidgeon on Facebook, this was Stephen Pidgeon like, you're Lishon Hara. And I'm like, Lishon Hara? And I was thinking, is he talking about Hara? Like Abraham's father's name was Hara. We got Hara. We can do Hara. I wasn't sure if he meant like the H with a H sound or a H sound. And then the Lishon, I just wasn't sure. I'm like, I've been studying Hebrew since I was 12. And this is like 10 years I've been trying to figure out Hebrew. And I've never seen it. And I start freaking out. You're going to Hebrew dictionaries and concordances, trying to figure out what this Lishon Hara means. Well, turns out he meant to say Lashon Hara, which would have been like this. Lashon, which he should have just spelled it out in Hebrew letters for me. It would have been a lot easier to understand. Should have been Lashon Hara, which Lashon means a tongue and Ra means bad. So Stephen Pidgeon was basically saying that I was bad-mouthing him, which was sort of correct. I mean, if you're some kind of an imaginative guy that combines Pig Latin, Aramaic, and Elvish, and you're basically screwing up the minds of these Hebrew roots people. You're just screwing up their minds. They're renaming their Facebook profiles after Mr. Yahuwah. And they're calling themselves Bat Yerushalayshiyashu. And I'm like, guys, just cut it out. Lashon Hara, bad mouthing. If you want to call it bad mouthing, yes, I'm bad mouthing Stephen Pidgeon because I kind of think that he's Pigeon, you know what. But, you know, I don't always say that. I'm just saying it now because I got the audience, you know. So, where do I go on from there? Oh, yeah. He's got a book called Book. Book called Book, and Accuser Position. So, what is this book? Well, for one, you got to order it from, you know, his website for about $95, maybe on sale for $94. But you go on the website, you buy the book for almost $100, and I don't know about you or me, but that's a little bit hard to come by, you know. I barely break even with my bills sometimes, and $100 is like a heck of a lot of money to me. But I understand, like, this book, this is the USB Greek New Testament, and it has here all the words that are used less than 30 times. It puts the English translation because, you know, not everybody can memorize 6,000 Greek words. I mean, I might have like 3,000 or 4,000 down pretty well, but there's always those few words that are used once in the New Testament really screw you up, and you're like, what does that mean? I've never learned that word before. Well, this USB Bible, it has all the words 30 times or less in the concordance, and you got it right here from Matthew till Revelation. Barnabas and Shepherd of Hermes aren't in here, unfortunately. They're still out. We don't have 1st or 2nd Clement. And, you know, there's no Gospel of Thomas, nothing like that. Just the Catholic version, Matthew through Revelation. And do you know how much that cost? About $99, $100, okay? This is the original Greek. Original, as good as you can get Greek, with all the footnotes, everything, about $100. So, you know, I would think if your translation's good enough, it might be worth $100 at an academic level. So I'm thinking, you know what? If Stephen Pidgeon's out there, you know, pigeon pilfering his book for $100, it's got to be the best translation out there. But I'm not going to buy it for $100, you know. But again, I know people in the Messianic movement that have, and that's why I'm talking about it. So, I mean, I've also chatted with Stephen Pidgeon, seen him on YouTube and all that stuff. And so I've gone around and I ask people, they're like, I have the Sefer. This is the Sefer. I've bought in my Sefer for my study. And then I say, oh, okay. Well, let me think about that. So, have you learned anything new from your Sefer? They're like, I don't know. To be honest, I can't figure the damn thing out. I'm sorry, I should have said the darn thing out. I can't figure the darn thing out. It doesn't make any sense. Can you help me? You know Hebrew. Bitter sure, you know, please. Nathaniel, I beg you. You know Hebrew. You gotta help me figure out the Sefer. So I decided to take the Sefer and open it up and to see what was on the page. And so I look down and I see a bunch of times Yahuwah in all capital letters. It said Yahuwah, 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 Yahuwah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he must not like Google. He must always use Yahoo. I'm like, I always use Google, but, you know, that's fine. He can use Yahoo. So it goes Yahuwah, 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 Yahuwah. And then I see this thing, et. And it says, like, Yahuwah and son of Yahshua said, et, to him, where are we et going, et, sayest et thou et this, and when et, the man et cometh et to et the et in et. I'm being serious. I mean, I'm not reading it. I'm just using this as my prop. I don't have the book, okay? But that's like what it sounds like in my mind. I'm reading et. And he et saideth et. I'm thinking, this doesn't really make sense. That's not English. So again, my illustration as it goes, this Messianic is talking with me, and it's like, can you help me? And I read it over and over, the sentence. What is it trying to say? And I figured it out. It was supposed to be, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And the phrase went more like this. Yahuwah et sent et his one and only, all capitals, homogeneous, indicative, first person imperative, third times removed, verb, son, Yeshua. And again, I'm totally botching this up on purpose. I'm not quoting it verbatim. This is a paraphrase for illustrative purposes. I'm not trying to get a copyright strike or anything, seriously. You know, there's a lot of Stephen Pidgeons out there in the world, so if you think I'm talking about the one, there's like millions, and there's millions of Sephers, okay? You know, beta Sefer, everything you see out there's a Sefer, so please don't copyright me or whatever. Take me to court legitimately. I'd like to see where it goes, because as far as I know, there's the freedom of the press, and the freedom of speech, and there's also the freedom to bear and to keep arms. So, you know, I'm just trying to put the truth out there, just like Stephen Pidgeon. And so I'm talking about his pigeon, you know what? I guess I could call it pigeon crap. You know, that's pretty PG, right? His pigeon crap. That makes sense. Where is that? Oh, yeah. John 3:16. And Yahuwah, you know, begat Yahushua, and his one and only Son, that whosoever, or it's like, but that whoever believes, trusts Yahuwah, gains eternal Chaim. Yahuwah Chaim. And I keep trying to figure it out. It really doesn't really make any sense. And I try to be nice, and that's the thing. I try to be nice, but it's really, really difficult when the entire Bible, I'm not talking about Harry Potter anymore. I'm talking about the Bible. You've got the Word of God in people's hands. They think this is an inspired translation, the Sefer. And your inspired Sefer is screwed up like somebody didn't know the difference between Pig Latin, Aramaic, and English. I'm serious. Why I say Pig Latin is because there's a lot of ahs. Like, everything ends with an A, and Aramaic is like everything ends with an A. Like Hebrew, everything ends with an A, and I don't know where it came from. I really don't. Let me get to the comment section. So Kara says, Shabbat Shalom, very interested in this lecture. I'm curious what you think about Alan Horvath's pronunciation of Yod-He Vav-He. I'm not sure what that is. Let me just do a Google search. Alan Horvath, pronunciation of Yod-He Vav-He. See if I find anything. Pronouncing it. Okay, let me just pull it up. See if I find anything. Okay, oh boy. Here we go. Alan Horvath. Pronouncing the name.
I've been getting a lot of questions these past few days about...
I'll turn the screen around for all y'all to see this.
Name. And, you're watching my videos every week. You'll know that I recently made a resolution not to refer to him anymore as God or certainly not Jehovah.
Wow, certainly not Jehovah. Okay, at least he's got a good opinion on that. I mean, an opinion.
The name Jesus. These things are important because in the Hebrew Aramaic, a name is not just a name. It also refers to a person's entire character. Now, those who are saved, when they get to the new kingdom, everyone's gonna be given a new name, and there's not gonna be any more, two people with the same name. Everybody's gonna have a very individual, unique name, and when that name is spoken.
Okay, sorry, he's being extremely slow. Let me skip through this a little bit.
They issued this decree, taught me to say it.
Is he gonna say it?
Ruach HaKodesh. And he it's the Father's name spelled with the Y-A-H-U-W.
Okay, let's see if he gets to the point ever.
In the Hebrew, and it means chaos, ruin, of course, means Yahweh. But Hova, if you look it up in Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, it's number 1943.
Okay, I think I know where he's getting at without me actually watching any more of this. So, he says, yeah, I probably should. Just say in the comment section, is he calling him Yahweh? Is that what the final word is on his pronunciation? Yahweh? Because if he calls him Yahweh, he might as well call him Nemo or Zeus. Because Yahweh is like trying to say Pig Latin Aramaic, like I was saying. It's not Yahweh. Yehovah. You know, he's trying to say Hova is like destruction or something bad. Yeah, he just said it. Okay. If he's trying to say that destruction and bad is Hova, I could say, you know, I could say I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say people anymore because pee is in it, and pee is a bodily fluid, and that's just nasty. And so pee is like urine, and so I can't say people anymore, or I can't say anything that has a letter P in it because pee is urine, and that's disgusting. And if I say this lie loud enough and strong enough, I could get people to believe it. That's what Hitler would say, anyways. And I'm trying to, you know, get something in your mind to click to show you how ridiculous this is. I'm saying that from a Hebrew standpoint, the name is pronounced Yehovah, okay? And yes, there are other Hebrew words that sound like, say, the first part, the last part, and maybe have similar phonetics. But again, the name is a name as a whole. You know, just like Mayim. Mayim in Hebrew is water. Oh, sorry, like breaking up there for a second. Seems like it's getting really hot. I don't know. Maybe this. I think my room is getting too hot. Camera, it might explode on me, and I do not want that. So let's open the window. Okay. And if I could do this for your guys' sake, I'll just stick my head out the window for a few minutes to cool the phone down. So hopefully this isn't too retarded. Bear with me, I'll still be talking. So anyhow, the phone is just like on fire, and I really do not want my phone to explode. So continuing on with my conversation with my head out the window. So back to the name Hova. Hova apparently means destruction, and yes, it's true. Hova is destruction in Hebrew. But my question to Stephen Pidgeon is, why doesn't he pronounce it Huva? He always makes the ho into an oo. Everything. Whether you're talking about David being dude, or talking about Moshe being Musha, or Nathaniel being like Nathunubul or something, he always makes these oos, and I don't know where it's coming from. So my question is, Yehovah is nothing like Huva. And Huva is probably destruction, and it's make-believe Pidgeon crap Hebrew. And so that's why I'm saying that Stephen Pidgeon is being fantastic with his imagination, making things up. Saying that, what are you saying? Okay, saying that the Hebrew language has to be, has to differentiate between Hova being destruction and Yehovah being God. That is just as stupid as what I said, that people's got P in it. Or I could say the government has a G in it, and it's got an O in it, and it's got a T in it, and so the government has Gott in it, and Gott in German is the word for God, so the government's got God in it, and so God's the government, and it also has ment in it, and ment in it means mind, and mind is what you have in your head, and so because the head and the God are put together, then you got that God is in your head, and your head is in God. Does that make any sense to you? Probably not. Because that's just stupid. What I'm doing is I'm taking little pieces of different words, mixing them all up, and then I'm just putting like Latin and English with it, and I'm trying to make a logical conclusion. And I don't think logic works that way. You can't just say, like what I said, that, G-O is in government. Oh, that means go. Oh, so then you go to the government, and then there's a V in it, and there's also the V used to be pronounced like a W in Old English, because the V used to be like government instead of government, and wern is kind of like a worm, and like the diet of worms, and Martin Luther went to the diet of worms. That's where he said, I can say no other, so help me God. And then there's God again, and he got the government again, and so God and the government is like controlling over the government, and that's where you got the shape-shifting reptilians that metamorph between a lizard and a reptilian, hermaphroditic, silicon-based texture. I hope that made really a lot of sense to you, because I'm doing this for illustrative purposes. Logic with numbers. Conspiracy theorists want to find some connection. Exactly. Okay, I think my phone's cooled down a little bit. I'm stepping back inside. So yeah, my point is saying stuff like this. I know that's ridiculous, and I know that, God isn't in government, and the V makes a what sound. It's like, government is government. That is a word in and of itself. You can't take government and then just take the V and the O and say, oh, there's a V and an O in government, and there's also a V and an O in voice. So the government is in a voice, and a voice is in government. Oh my, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Something's gonna explode, it's the end of the world, oh my, chaotic, And then you got chaos, and you got destruction, and you got this terrible conspiracy. And back to the name Yod Hey Vav Hey, you got Yehovah is God, and you got Hova is destruction. Those are two different words. Adam means man, Adam. Adamah means dirt. Adam, Adamah. The only difference is you put an A at the end. So if you make it like Pig Latin, you put an A at the end. Adam, Adamah. All of a sudden, now Adam turns into dirt. It's the same thing with, say, Aish and Ish. Aish is fire, Ish is man. There's just a slight difference, but Aish is fire, Ish is man. They're different words, and there is actually Aish, the Aleph and the Sheen are in the word Ish. Ish is Aleph Yod Sheen. So if you take out the Yod from Ish, which is a man, then you got Aish, which is fire. And you could say, oh my, you can't do that. There's no fire in man. There's not, I mean, apparently Zeus had said that, but, Prometheus stole the fire anyway. That's why Jesus had to die on the cross, or, depending on your theology. But, apart from Greek theology, I'm talking about Hebrew theology. I'm just saying that Hebrew names in and of itself have similar spelling, similar functions, similar meanings. And you can't say, I mean, for instance, okay, that Stephen Pidgeon says that Yahoo is God, and because you got Eliyahu, you have Yirmiyahu, you got Yezekiyahu, you got Yeshayahu, and you got others like that, okay, that end in Yahoo. And we know for a fact that they are Yahoo. And I think, yeah, that's true. Yahoo is God. Everybody in Israel knows that's true. It's Eliyahu, Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, all those, that's true. But again, there's also names like Yehochanan, Yehonatan, Yehoshaphat, Yehoshua. These are all Yeho, and the Yod-He, Vav makes a ho sound. It's Yeho, like Yehonatan is Jonathan, Yehoshaphat is Jehoshaphat, Yehoshua is Jesus. You got Yeho. And so what it is that Yeho is a prefix. It means it's at the beginning of a word. Something like Yahoo is a suffix, meaning it's at the end of the word. And so with all that said and done, depending on where it's at in the sentence, Yahoo is an ending, Yeho is a beginning. That's just how the Hebrew language works. So a word like Yod-He, Vav-He, you got Yehovah. It's not Yahuwah. That would be like, instead of using a prefix, you're using a suffix for a prefix. Let me see if it makes sense in English. Like, say, doeth. You got the ETH at the end. Saith, eateth, speaketh. That all makes sense because in, middle to late modern English, you used it. You used an ETH to be a third person singular. But what you can't do, this is what you cannot, not ever do. Take an ending and put it at the beginning. Let me say how that is. Saith. Ith say. I'm going to say that again. Ith say. Doeth. Ith do. Eateth. Ith eat. Ith speak. Ith construct. Ith write. Ith plumb. Ith drive. Ith eat. I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it's like, that doesn't make sense. You don't say ith eat, you say eateth. You don't say he ith eat that food. No, he eateth the food. He doesn't eth eat the food. I hope that makes sense, because that's exactly what it is in Hebrew. You would never say Yahoo Natan. You would say Yahonatan. Yehonatan is the prefix. Yahu is a suffix. So you would say Netanyahu, Yehonatan. Yehonatan is the putting Yahoo and then Natan. Yahonatan. The other way would be Natan Yahoo. And so Hebrew's got this flow. And that's what I'm trying to explain, is that it's not a one-size-fits-all. And I feel like Stephen Pidgeon tries to make it like a one-size-fits-all, and also makes people think like they could just make up Hebrew however they want to. I've heard one person who said Nathaniel, it was like Nathanael, and somebody even tried to write something out. I wish I had it right here on the spot. But anyway, they wrote out this sentence. I couldn't read it for the life of me, and realized, like, אני יודע מה אני רוצה להגיד לך אם אני רוצה להגיד בעברית. אני יכול להגיד בעברית אם אני צריך להגיד לך. I can speak Hebrew if I want to, and that's the thing that people don't understand, is that Hebrew is a spoken language. It's also... Oh boy, now I'm repeating myself. It's a spoken language, it's also a written language. It's just as alive and well today as it was at the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let's see. Yeah, when they try to tie in NASA with the Hebrew language, yeah, that's true. And again, you could call me crazy for saying that Nasa means he deceived in Hebrew, and then NASA doesn't have anything to do with Hebrew. Well, maybe I'm just connecting something that shouldn't be connected. And I can, you know, say, fine, NASA could have nothing to do with Deceived. But again, if it is a deception, if all the CGI footage and all the moon landing was fake, then, you know, it kind of does parallel pretty well. Even though it is mixing apples and oranges. I do have to admit that. Mixing apples and oranges, but they both put the same message out there. CGI, NASA is fake, it's a deception, Deceived. You know, it all means the same thing. But anyhow, back with Stephen Pidgeon. I don't want my stream to go on forever and ever. Stephen Pidgeon might legitimately sue me if it goes on for more than an hour. I'm not really sure. So what should I do now? I know. I gotta talk about That Rude. This was a donation. Thank you so much to Michael, who donated this to me. Not Michael Rude, but the other Michael. I really appreciate this book, but I gotta admit, I'm gonna probably make fun of this book till the cows come home and King Arthur returns riding that cow, okay? Because apparently Michael Rude, he's got this corrected King James version. Let me put it on the screen. The corrected King James version, and he doesn't know Hebrew or Greek. Like, he knows enough Hebrew to say Rosh Isha, the head of a woman. Like, he knows that Rosh Isha is the head of a woman, but he does not know that woman, Isha, the plural for woman, is Nashim. Nashim. Totally different than Aisha Tot. Will you be doing more Hebrew lectures? Yes, I will be doing more Hebrew lectures. And if you're anywhere near Evansville, Indiana, I don't know where in the world you're at when you watch this. You could be in, you know, you could be anywhere. You could be in the North Pole, or you could be in one of those unidentified regions of the world. Okay, anyway, I had to update something. So anyhow, okay, sorry, just lost the train of thought. What was I saying? Hebrew lectures. Yes, I believe that there's a very important reason to do Hebrew lectures, because people are screwed in the brain. And I'm sorry if that sounds too blunt, if that sounds too rude. There's even this guy named Michael Rude, and he knows some Hebrew. But he corrected the King James Version, and he uses baby Hebrew and no Greek. And do you know what he did? He did the same thing Stephen Pidgeon did, as no academic credibility goes to this. He screwed up the Bible, and he doesn't even know that Nashim is women and Aisha Tot is fires, and they're two different words. And he said this for 10 years. The first time I heard about it, 10 years ago, I was 12 years old. He says, Ish is man, and Aish is fire, and he got fire offering, an evil woman in a lead basket, and it's Zechariah chapter 5. So I read Zechariah chapter 5. What do I see? I see that women is Nashim and fires are Aisha Tot. It's easy, simple Hebrew. I knew it when I was 13, okay? Maybe not when I was 12, but when I was 13, you know, the coming of age, 13, I could figure that out. Michael Rood, on the other hand, apparently his Hebrew is just not quite adept. He's good as like a motivational speaker. And I gotta say this, I gotta give some kind of credit to Michael Rood. You know, I can't, I've been hounding Stephen Pidgeon to the ground. I could say, Stephen Pidgeon, I would probably like to talk to you about other things. Let's talk about evangelizing in China. What about, you know, how he was in China evangelizing? He was probably a very, you know, kind-hearted person. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe I'm fantasizing, just like his fictional book called Book. But maybe he was a kind person. Maybe. Same with Michael Rood. If I see him in person, I think there's a lot to glean from a guy like Michael Rood. Being a truck driver, being, you know, a fan of Ron Wyatt, and telling people about the Red Sea crossing and the real Mount Sinai, waking up people in the church to celebrate the feasts, and just realize that Sunday is pagan and Christmas and Easter is pagan. There is a reason that Michael Rood is here on this flat earth, even though he hates the flat earth movement, because he claims, where's that book called? I mean, the chronological. He claims that NASA gave him all the moon sightings for his book. So, do you know what I did? I actually called up NASA and I asked him. And I gotta do this. Just hold on. Because it's very important, okay? to realize how easily some people are deceived. I'm gonna just say NASA phone number. I don't want to do this on my stream. Okay, NASA phone number, customer service. Because I want to make sure, if Michael Rood really did this, you know, it's got to be great. Because for all I know, sightings of the new moon, you could estimate, you know, how bright the moon was or what the percentage was. But if it's a cloudy day, that is something you'd have to go back in the time machine to figure out. So I'm going to just type this out on my phone. Call NASA. You could do it from your house. You just got NASA customer service. And we're going to call NASA and ask if they've, you know, talked with the guy named...
Public Communications Office. For media inquiries and requests, please call the NASA newsroom at 202-358-1600. That's 202-358-1600. For all other inquiries, please leave a brief message regarding the nature of your call and include your name, telephone number, and email address. Please repeat your email address for accuracy. For up-to-date NASA news,
I'll explain in a second.
Website at www.nasa.gov. That's www.nasa.gov. Your interest in NASA is greatly appreciated. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Yeah, hey NASA, this is Nathaniel Kuchenberg calling, and my phone number is 812 blah 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 blah. Okay, I won't, you know, they have caller ID. And I'm just calling to see if you've actually personally contacted a guy named Michael Rood and given him the sightings of the new moon that were recorded back in the 1st century AD. So anyhow, I would give my telephone number over the phone, but I'm on YouTube.
Message, press pound or
Okay, whatever.
play it.
Pound.
Message has been sent.
Okay.
If you would like to try an extension, you may do so now.
I'm gonna try extension 1, just to see if I get anybody.
I did not recognize that as a... Wait while I transfer your call.
Okay, it's gonna transfer me. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to see if Michael Rood actually gets contact with these NASA people. That's my goal anyways. And it may be recorded for quality and assurance purposes. I gotta say that because, you know.
Greetings. You have reached NASA Headquarters Information Center and Switchboard in Washington, D.C. We are unable to take your call at this time. Please leave your name, number, and how we may assist you after the tone. Please speak clearly so we may return your call. The switchboard is open Monday to Friday, 7
I'll probably call him back, but I'll leave the message anyways.
p.m. when the federal government is open. Thank you for calling NASA.
Record your message.
Okay, I'm gonna record and I'll explain later.
Hang up or press pound for more options.
Yeah, hey NASA, this is Nathaniel Kuchenberg calling. I'm just calling for information concerning the sightings of the new moon in the 1st century AD. And I'd just like to know if you were in contact with a guy named Michael John Rood and how accurate of information you gave him. I'd give my phone number over the phone, but I'm on YouTube, and so hopefully you have caller ID and you can call me back as soon as you can. Otherwise, I'll be calling you Monday morning as soon as I get a chance. Thank you very much, and God be with you. Have an joyous occasion and a lovely day. Okay, that should do it. So that's Washington, D.C., NASA. and hopefully they'll get back to me, you know, to be continued in the future. We will see if NASA actually has connections with Michael Rood. So let me get back to the comment sections. What are you doing? NASA doesn't keep records of stuff like that. They have hundreds of stuff that's rotating the years. A little late on calling NASA. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they think they're going to be open at midnight. Maybe, maybe not. I'll try again, you know, next week sometime. Probably, you know, try to get somebody in person. There are many branches of NASA. Who knows whom the guy contacted in NASA? Exactly. But again, I think that it's quite a claim to say that you were able to figure out when the sightings of the new moon were in the 1st century AD, and you have this connection with NASA to somehow put some imaginary mirror on the moon. I mean, I could put a mirror on the moon too if I had CGI. I mean, duh. I mean, CGI just put a mirror on the moon in the stage in Arizona. I mean, how hard can it be? Anyhow, enough with railing on Michael Rood. Let's give some pointers. He was a truck driver. He was in the Marines, and he likes he invited one of my friends on his TV show. My friend Jones, Andrew Jones, was on his TV show, Shabbat Night Live, not too long ago, talking about the real Mount Sinai, and so I think that's pretty cool. What else is there? Michael Rood was my inspiration when I was 12 years old. I remember going to see Michael Rood and getting a rude awakening. So I could say something good about Michael Rood. I could say that Michael Rood was my rude awakening. It was May the 4th, 2009. I go and I see Michael Rood in person on the stage. He comes out, he's dressed like a clown, and I'm thinking, what is he wearing? Why doesn't everybody wear that? I mean, I love costumes and everything, and I always would make my own Robin Hood costume, and I would sew my own clothes sometimes, you know, when I was a little kid, like 8, 9, 10. I sewed my own costumes, always hand sewed. I didn't use a sewing machine, like to hand sew, crochet, and all that stuff, make my own costumes, make my own bows and arrows. So I see him dressed like Robin Hood or Little John or something, and I'm thinking, you know, that's a really cool outfit. And then a little bit later, he explains how there's 3 days and 3 nights between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. I mean, there isn't, but Jesus died on Wednesday, rose on Saturday night. And I'm thinking, hey, that makes sense. I'm 12 years old, and that makes more sense than anything I've ever heard in church before. So that was my wake-up call to the Messianic movement. And after that, that's when my family started keeping Shabbat and started keeping the feasts. And it just really got started with the Messianic movement. So I do appreciate Michael Rood, and so when I say these critical statements, I'm not saying that Michael Rood's a bad person. Same with Stephen Pidgeon. I'm not saying that he's a bad person, but what I am saying is that he's not all knowledgeable about Hebrew and Greek. Stephen Pidgeon is not knowledgeable about Hebrew and Greek. He might be a doctor in his field, he might be a lawyer, but that's not anything to do with Hebrew and Greek. The same thing goes with Michael Rood. He might be really good at truck driving, really good at inspirational speaking, and he might be really good at dressing up like Little John. But at the end of the day, you gotta say, does he speak Hebrew and does he speak Greek? And does he know enough to actually make a corrected King James version? And my surmisal and my conjecture at this given moment is that neither Stephen Pidgeon nor Michael Rood know what they are talking about as far as Hebrew and Greek goes, unfortunately, even though they like to claim. So, in summing up my video, well, who am I to even make such a claim, and why would I care? You say in the U.S. they can't sue you because you have the First Amendment. Yeah, exactly. So Stephen Pidgeon is stupid. He said he could sue me. I'm like, I thought you're a lawyer. You should know the laws. We got the freedom of the press, you know, with the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Yeah, so at least Tov Bubba, you're in Russia, and you know more than the American law than this Dr. Pidgeon. That's why I call him Pigeon Crap or Pigeon S word, you know? His stuff is completely fake, and it pisses me off. It's like, can you really, like, are you trying to screw people's minds? Or is it just, your fantastic imagination gearing you in that regards, and you probably need to be in a mental institution rather than teaching on YouTube? Wait, did I just say that in public? I'm so sorry, Dr. Pidgeon. I didn't mean to say that. Now people are really going to hate me. Anyhow, Dr. Pidgeon probably doesn't need to go to a mental institution. He probably just needs to calm down on his Hebrew, Aramaic, Pig Latin. If he stops his Hebrew, Aramaic, Pig Latin and starts speaking English, I think he'd be a very extraordinarily friendly guy. But I can't speak Aramaic, Pig Latin, bastardized Hebrew. If I tried, I mean, I don't know how it would go. See, what are you saying? Are the newspapers in Greece like Journal Hemera equals day? Yeah, I know that. Hemera equals day. I knew that when I was 11. Are the newspapers in Greece like a diary journal? I'm not sure what that means, Mr. XRPQ13, whatever you are. I've never been to Greece, and it looks like I probably won't for a while. I don't have the money and the time and all that. Right now, my bucket list is growing, and if I had the time and the money, I'm probably going to go to somewhere else. Well, like, I've been thinking about going to Fiji and trying to find Truman from The Truman Show. But, you know, Greek would be cool. I just be disappointed because I don't speak modern Greek. I speak, like, 2 to 3,000 years ago Greek. And the North Pole would be a better place. Yeah, I'd like to see King Arthur and the Holy Grail. They say this to scare you. Yeah, okay, I gotta say, too, that this guy's, like, in his 60s. So he thinks that I'm like this little boy on stage, to quote Donald Trump speaking about Marco Rubio, the little boy on stage. You know, that's what he thinks of me, and I understand. You know, to him, I'm like his grandson. And so I can appreciate there's an age difference. Same with Michael Rood, you know. The only thing I've ever really talked to Michael Rood about was when he commented on my YouTube video about Zachariah's thermonuclear war. Michael Rood said, I coined the phrase Zachariah's thermonuclear war. How dare you put that in your YouTube title? And so, he also said, you do not have the spiritual maturity or the mental capacity to critique my work. So, you know, that's what Michael Rood thinks of me, unfortunately. Because I am a lot younger than him. Okay, call me John. Okay, sorry. Q13, whatever you are. I didn't know what your name is, so, call you John, stick up for the ignorance here, educate me a little bit. Sure. So, yeah, I've never been to Greece, sorry. Closest I've been is one of my fork truck drivers lived in Cyprus. So I wrote out Euclid's postulates in Greek and asked if he could read it, and he put it on his fork truck like a little plaque. He really enjoyed that, because everybody else was just stupid, so he's like, well, at least somebody's got brains. He thought I was stupid before that, but when I, you know, wrote on the paper, apapatos semeo epipansamine, you're saying grammatic again, that from every point to every point's a straight line, he's like, hey, look, this kid actually knows what he's doing. Yeah. Okay, relate to the comment above where I said about, ephemeris. Okay, I'm not getting something. You guys could comment more, because I'm not figuring this out. Maybe I'm just focusing on what I'm saying, not reading it enough. Contact astronomers or cellular trace the comets, years past, they can do the moon. So what they can't do, though, is trace the people that are actually sighting the new moon. They can, I mean, technically the stars are supposedly in this rotation, and they actually, like, you know, you could back up the stars and know where they were. But the problem is you can't know if they sighted the new moon or not if it was a cloudy day. That is not something that NASA is capable of doing. You'd have to go back in a time machine to figure that out. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think Michael Rood is, well, for one, a little bit arrogant, and he didn't translate it from Hebrew, Greek, or Latin. He just corrected the King James Version, and I don't believe he's capable of doing that. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I could go on forever and ever, but I feel like it's important to give this a bit of a close. Before I give it a complete close, I want to just explain to you why I would be so bold to criticize people that are pretty prestigious. You know, like Michael Rood, Stephen Pidgeon, they're pretty prestigious. You know, Michael Rood has been at this messianic thing since before I was born. And then somebody like Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, he's got the doctor associated with his name. Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, okay? And he also is old enough to be my grandpa. So why I want to step out and say, hey, look, this guy is a piece of pigeon crap, is because I think that it's important for people to wake up. Just like the Rude Awakening, people going, you know, guess what they found? They found Pharaoh's chariot wheel strewn for 1.5 miles in the bottom of the Red Sea. Guess what? Your pagan Easter with the Easter bunny, that's all, you know, pagan sun god worship. You know, sometimes people need to get told what's what. And, what is it? They're all smoke and mirrors. They can fool amateurs who don't know better. Exactly. And that's what I think is so sad, is that I see, especially on my Facebook, people, person after person after person, they'll they'll rename their Facebook. Bless their god darn hearts. Okay, they're trying. They're really at least trying. They rename their Facebook, and they're trying to keep the Sabbath, to keep the feast, and then they get off this Yahuwah tangent, and it drives me crazy. I'm trying to be like, are you sure he's a doctor? Yes, he's a doctor in what do you call it? He's a lawyer in the I don't know what to call it. Just look up Dr. Stephen Pidgeon on Google. I'm going to look it up. Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. You know, he doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page. That's how famous he is. Okay, at Stephan.